Alright, so part 2 of this short series. It's called Tuesdays Are Strange, but it was also a blur. And it goes a little something like this. Come here, kid. Sit down with me for a while. Now, this is something strange. This is something I've trained myself to avoid before beginning this journey. I couldn't prophesy exactly what sort of things I would encounter as I traversed through this sea of glass. But it seemed sensible to tell myself, just be ready, regardless. No matter how much I preached it to myself, no matter how much I told myself, no matter how much it made sense to myself, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for this. But the boat waited above me. I guess I have a chance to rest. There before me is not a man standing on or in the glass. If anything, he is under the glass. He isn't looking at me. How he could know that I was there? Well, that's a mystery to me. But let alone survive in this glass? That's an even greater mystery. You would think that he'd be swallowed whole. I've told myself that if I stop, that I would fall into this abyss. But here he is, simply on the other side. That would be my fate, perhaps, if I slowed down and let the waters engulf me in my tired frame. The man says to me, tell me, do you have time to listen to my story? Now, to make things a little bit more odd, a pole with a clock atop of it erected from the sea of glass and connected to his below. The only difference is the ivy thorn choking his time remained where he was. Mine had nothing there. I tell myself to resist admiring the oddity. I pace in a circle around him instead of stopping, out of fear that I'd fall right in with him. And the man's eyes remained fixed on the suitcase next to him. I said, go ahead, tell me. He smiled as he removed ink-stained papers from the case with such precision. He's practiced this before, it's evident, and the rasp in his voice spoke of the loneliness before he told his story. He said, I wish it were simple, but she sent me to the sun. She told me going would be an amelioration. It would be loved by her, to her grieving soul, but I tasted poison. Practically, I not only incinerated, but I became something unrecognizable to her. Naturally, she rejected me onward. She claimed that the change I've dressed myself with is not something she desired for herself anymore. Upon hearing those words, I closed my ears and I donned my best suit and carelessly marched off into the sea, and now here I am, watching time. She perceived her propitiation. She received. She not only perceived, but she received her propitiation, while I dwell as a mindless mind, reciting senseless soliloquies and soaking the parchment with bleeding ink, writing these words over and over again. And I watch him carefully from many angles. This is perhaps how he envisioned telling someone his story, to have every side of him observed and examined, because perhaps, just perhaps, he wanted to simply be known by someone or something after being alone this long. So what now? I say. Are you going to live forever inside of there? Don't you want to see what actually happens next? Are the clock hands that frustrating? I would want to do something more than count my dying breaths. How long will you sulk because of your contrite and mizzled heart? My heart? He said. My heart? My heart sulking? His eyes turned to me and followed me as I continued to pace in circles. Above and around him, I could see the terror harbored inside his eyes. He couldn't want to leave something he had become so familiar with, that was so normal. But his trembling legs and arms are betraying him, and in a moment, he is on top of the glass with me, pacing in the opposite side with a great smile. To think it was that simple, he said. To think that it was that plain. As a change of mindset, I am almost tasting the irony now. That little demon on my shoulder telling me that I can't be something, that I could never go farther. That was all that I've been listening to. That's all that I've been writing about. I'm truly tasting the irony now. And he laughed as he brushed off his suit and checked the time. 4:59. He stopped walking, but somehow did not sink into the glass again. I walked backward to get a better view of him. I wanted to say it didn't make sense, but I think I may understand. Even though there are thickets of fog trouncing clear vision in front of him, he appears to be free. Inside the glass, the ink-stained papers spewed everywhere, and the ivy thorns withered. The clock on that side, stopped. And the one on this side breathed life again at 5 o'clock. You know, he said, I think I'm gonna try to figure this out. I can hear someone far off calling me to come closer, and it's a soothing, releasing and freeing voice. It feels real. And I want to chase it, in fact. I wonder, is that why you're here as well? What are you chasing after? And I couldn't answer him. I couldn't answer him in the time before his body was carried away into the fog. It happened so fast. Or maybe it took him quite a long time before he disappeared and I lost track of time. Either way, it wouldn't be fair if I demanded him to stay. I don't want to burden his newfound freedom. And the boat whistled for me to return again. And I'm still a long ways off, it seems. All I could think now, to this man, is good luck, friend.